Hello, Jeff.
Good morning, Deb.
I'm glad you're here. I was feeling I might be in the wrong place. It's just me.
I know. Yeah, well, it's you know you're in the wrong place when you open an OCP meeting notice and it still has the go to meeting link. I'm like, oh, that's
Ah.
definitely not right.
Good morning, team. Sorry, I'm late. I opened Jeff.
Hello.
Hi, Eric. Good morning. And maybe it's scheduled from 5 after or something, so that people can join from other meetings.
Yeah, you do get used to that. Find yourself doing it when you're not supposed to.
I know. So the only thing I thought, like, there are people from Europe joining, and if they schedule early, we can leave early before 9 o'clock, 5 minutes earlier, something like that. Hi, Gobi. Good morning. So, do we have any opens today? I have a couple of items we want to cover today. So, if not, the global summit is OCP Global Summit is coming. The abstract putting abstract is open. I think the due date for abstract is June 21st. I'm trying to see like what we want to kind of submit from this work stream, right? A couple of suggestions is the IUU work, the profile that we want to develop. We should present that IUU. Here is IUU formulas, and here is a profile going to look like. How are you going to operationalize? That may be one topic. Another work we just got started is
I think at least a description of what's intended and kind of where we are. Right. I think IUE is a good topic.
Right. And if any caps or anything there, right? I think we should really like complete that work and tell what is the next steps need to be there, right?
Yeah, I think we'll have to be, since we haven't made a lot of decisions yet, right? I think we've outlined the problem pretty well, and the white paper's kind of underway. The big opens are mostly around the work per watt metric, right? Whether there's one of those or many of those, and where they come from, right? That's probably so. What the opens are or the issues that need to be resolved is probably needs to be one of the topics that we cover.
Yeah, I think so, Eric, from IUE side, I think we could say like the IUE work is almost complete and we are ready with the profile, right? The performance per watt work is ongoing, it's not complete, right?
Right, it's not. And the problem is, how do you do IUE without an idle power measurement?
There's two parts, right? One is we want to include that part of the profile definition. I think we had some proposal, but also regarding the measurement part, what we said was you could have that hard coded as a static, or you're putting during boot, you're measuring and putting it. With that basic framework, you have the mechanism available. If you want to enhance how do you do the ideal power measurement definitions over what we have defined, then we have to have that further discussion, right? That's probably the next steps there, right?
Okay, yeah, we'll have to get into which idle we're measuring then, because it doesn't match the one that we wanted, but that's okay.
Right. But if, again, as a topic, we do need to put the abstract and submit it, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
do we want to kind of say like all the DCEM work as one topic, or do we want to separate it out and say like IUE is one topic and performance per watt or performance per energy is another topic?
Two topics probably, if we have a presentation on the perf one, right?
Right.
I think that one's optional. The IUE one we should definitely do some kind of update on, right? Because we've been talking about what our plans were the last few summits, and I think there's been progress on IUE. Like I said, maybe we take the perf per watt part and make a decision separately about whether to give an update and what update to give.
Right. Okay. So let us separate it those two together.
Yep, that makes sense.
Is there anything else in the metrics that we should say that maybe even forward looking, right? I just sent out, I found yesterday late night, there is a white paper published by 4E, what is it, agency, right? I'm forgetting the name of it. IEA published a white paper, International Energy Agency. They went through a lot of different metrics that is being defined, and it was defined, and they did analysis and kind of went through a summary on every single thing and say like, here is a summary of it, here is the gaps, and what is a kind of forward-looking work we would like to see it, right? Like that, is there anything we want to pick on DCEM work group in the future that we want to even put the seeding on, like start working towards that the new metrics, right?
So I think that if we wanted to get, something that would get traction, if we align with what's being asked for the EED and what the energy efficiency directive for data centers in the EU, with what they currently are asking for and where they're going, that because that's law, there's a lot of data centers that perhaps wouldn't have been monitoring certain things or not understanding certain things. Because of the law, these data centers will be forced to somehow learn and monitor these things. So that would be my suggestion, is rather than throwing something out there and hoping that it would, get the traction that PUE got in its time, if instead we align ourselves to what's happening through legislation, then more, we'll get more people to implement.
How do we kind of approach that, right? I'm trying to say, like, do we want to say path from taking the current definition to how do we operationalize?
Well, you could, for starters, look at, we could look at what the EED requires, how people are being told or not told to figure that out, and see if we can map what we're interested in on top of that. Unfortunately, right now, the EED is asking for max IT power. And we, one thing I heard that you want is idle, but when whatever methodology you're using to figure out max, which includes figuring out your inventory, what's actually there, how many racks, you have to report how many racks, how much kit is in each rack. Going from that, once you've kind of gotten that, you can, quite possibly use a very similar methodology or framework once you've figured out max to figure out idle for that. So that's an example. I mean, that's at the data center level, but it's, I think it's a pretty good place to start.
Or maybe what I'm thinking is it a panel or a round table to how do we take from this definition to operationalize? Is that maybe another topic?
Yeah, I think we should probably talk through it here, right? Give somebody the AR to write down what that might look like, and we can have a discussion, right? About whether to submit it on behalf of the work group or not.
Okay. So given we
Right.
have only
I
another,
can't,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I can't sign up for anything because I expect I won't be given travel. So budget for travel to the conference. So
Right, yeah, you can sign up to present it, right? That's probably not a good idea right at the moment, yeah.
or to be on a panel. So I would just say, yeah, people that either are physically already there, or I guess I'm just talking from the Intel point of view. Sorry, Jeff. Or people that can, do a day trip on the shuttle. Probably.
I think let's probably first write decide what is the topic is interesting topic, right? Then we can figure out who from companies can represent.
Sure, whatever. I guess, Eric,
Yeah, I think
you would be
yeah.
best to talk about the EED.
Probably, although we'll have to look at, we just did an EED update at the regional summit that we didn't go to, right?
Uh-huh. Well, right,
I
but
think yeah, it's good idea to compile all the results and everything, and have a repository. Then go back and see, anybody can present it, right? So if it, since given the time is just quite 4 weeks or so, and then if the material is ready, probably anybody who is presenting, they can cover this topic also, right?
We got roughly 3 weeks, right? It's the 21st.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah.
So are we saying EED is on topic, or are we saying they have a panel or
no,
I think it's more whether and how we factor in that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about a panel of different ways to operationalize this.
right?
Yeah, I think that was the latest discussion. So topics for that, I think it's worth kicking around.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can take the AR to kind of put together a list, Sammy. We can go back and forth and then come back and review it here.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be good. I think, but looks like 3 topics. One is IUE, one is performance per energy, and panel on how do you operationalize different metrics, right?
Right, and obviously your idea, you know, about operationalizing an idle power measurement that can be automated is interesting to factor in. Right?
Right,
Most of the other the idle we want may be, you know, there's good reasons to want a different version of idle, right? But it may be very difficult to specify and attain and operationalize that measurement.
correct, right. There's two parts of operationalize, right? One is IUE, even if you can calculate, what is the regulations to kind of publish it, right? Because it's a lot of internal details within the data center, right? Even the performance per energy, like you can calculate how are you going to give a data center level metrics or not, right? And the things what we are really saying is the ideal power is the mechanics. How do you make it automated or things like that, right?
Yep.
So there's probably two levels, right? One is kind of inward looking within the data center. How do you make it operationalized to make it work for the data center? And what is the external facing regulations that you have to influence to make some data need to come out of this data centers, right?
When you want idle, what level do you want it? Motherboard, rack, row of racks,
You need to start
data
from
center, hall?
no, you need to start from the systems, then build to the rack and to the even multiple rack level, right?
So at the motherboard level, cert includes idle. For so just the same way that we're at the green grid proposing to use cert for max, we could also use cert for idle.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the things, right? What are the gaps even today in order to kind of influence those factors, right? We can define something basic, what we are we can able to get it done, and we need to keep some of the things open and say like, hey, these are the things we need to solve and what need to be in place to get it solved, right? By the way, actually, if you look at one presentation I said, I think that's probably another thing, kind of interesting point here. Let me see whether I can share this. So this is got just published this month from the International Energy Agency. Actually, if you look at the summary here, right? They're proposing, they're starting from now. And what is the forward looking expectation or modeling? What they're saying is there are a lot of systems need to shut down. If it is not utilizing low utilization, right? You need to increase server efficiency. Also, you have to increase the utilization if you want to get the better numbers, right? And obviously, you know, you have to reduce PUE. The maximum they're putting 1.2. And a lot of workloads instead of operating locally, if you move to cloud, then it reduces some of the inefficiencies, right? Again, we need to see like what is our the IUE and other performance work that we are doing, how it's going to influence. We may need to create some summary or some kind of talking points there, right? Or do we even want to create some model here?
So I see this as somewhat orthogonal to IUE. I mean, things like low utilization shutdown, right now, a lot of times that, well, at least in the cloud, I actually don't know for enterprise data centers, if people are on top of this. But in the cloud, you can get a report and it tells you these instances had absolutely no networking activity over the past month. Maybe you want to shut it down, right? And so, you know, that's how that would be done. Increase utilization. This is for all the software teams to monitor their utilization and to come up with strategies for increasing it. PUE has been stuck well above 1.2 for enterprises for a long time. So I don't know how much PUE is going to move and shift to the cloud. People will do that for their own reasons or not, right? So how do you see this ties in with your metric?
So when they're saying your low utilization, right? When you start getting IUE from every system and rack, now it gives you a little bit more better measurement of what is the low utilization. The numbers looks like that, right?
But you're saying from who is this? Like the facility operator?
Facility operators.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. They know. I would say based on the data center tour that I just did, but you know, their ability to influence or change or even know who to talk to is zero. But yeah, they know that when they're asked, you know, buy this for this group, you know, when the group says we have to have this, we have to have that, they're like, okay, this is way over specified. And they'll, you know, they try to a little bit go under what was specified and then they monitor it and say, oh crap, they're using 20%.
Yeah, I think they know. I think the question is, how do you make it consistent across, right?
Well, but no, you have to get the data and the incentive to the
Right.
person who can take an action, right? So, you know, I talk to many people who their job is in the facility and they're just like, IT load is IT load. We know that their utilization is low. We know that they mega guard band at purchase times and, you know, blah, blah, you know, they know all that stuff, but they have no control over it. They just, like I said, many people said some variation of the sentence, IT load is IT load. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know what actions to suggest that those people take, etc. But if you go over to the side of the folks that are, you know, actually operating the software, like the DevOps personalities or whatever, again, if they just look at what instances across, you know, if across the data center had no network traffic to or from, they know, oh, this looks like a zombie, or you know, or at least they know to ask the question, and they also know if they get the answer, oh, well, that's just sitting there, that's our redundancy algorithm, right? Is our failover algorithm, that's just sitting ready in case we ever need to fail over. Like, okay, fine, right? So again, the data center operator can't do much about low utilization or increased utilization. Again, that would be down to the software personas. Increased server efficiency is you know, more on our side, and the maybe the facility side is, so maybe that would be one to focus on. PUE, I don't know what to say about that. Does that make any sense though? How those?
Yeah, I think your question is, yes, we are putting this matrix IUE and performance per energy. How are you going to take that matrix into power saving measure, right? How is that going to be translating?
Which people are, you know, which people, you know, have the capability to even make a change and, or understand the reason why
Right.
this is low utilized, and that's, that's for redundancy purposes or
Just-
failover purposes or whatever, right? So, and those people are not at a OCP conference, right? They're at the DevOps conference or the, other hot developer conferences.
No, that's fine. I think what we are really influencing is the people in OCP. There is a lot of the fleet guys supplying infrastructure, right? They can take the input and work with their counterpart there to kind of make it happen, right? I think what we have to influence is based on the metrics that we are putting. That is probably getting the metrics is first step. Then how are we going to use the metrics and influence going forward so that you will see some improvements, right? That I
So
think we need to decide.
again, utilization is
No, this is not my summary. This is coming from the agency's report, right?
right, but I'm just
Right.
saying that the utilization is a software and a DevOps. They know that. They don't need any new metrics. They just need the discipline to collect it and to act on it. Right now, they, they love their clearly they love their mega guard band, and they have other things they're focused on. But we don't need to invent anything. We need to motivate when it comes to low utilization, shutdown, and increase utilization.
Thanks,
Have a
Jeff.
good weekend, Jeff.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know that I agree with we don't need any metrics, right? I think so. What Sammy's after here, I think, Deb, is quantification, automation, and tracking. I would contend those are not done. I mean, you're giving the DevOps people a lot more credit than I would give in terms of what they're aware of and what data they have access to. Do they know they're inefficient? Yes. Do they know their utilization's low? Yeah. Yeah, they've looked at it a couple times and seen low numbers.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't mean they have automated tracking of how much energy is at stake or visibility into the net impact of the decisions they've made.
Right. So that comes down to, will the changes they make decrease the energy draw at the meter with the utility, right?
Yeah, and that's what we were after, was a way so that they actually could make changes and remeasure and see whether things they do are making a difference, right? They can't do that today.
Well, if they knew, right, like in order to decrease, I think somebody could look at a facility and say, in order to decrease our draw at the meter by 5%, 24/7, right, we would need to have whatever, 15% fewer racks. So we need to jam the work that, for the work we currently have, either get rid of or cram together into fewer racks. That, that's our request to you software folks. Figure out a way to do it, right? That would, that you would know, I started with 800 racks and now I'm 15% less, right?
Yeah,
Racks.
but I think trying to get some metric out there that is showing a substandard value and would show a better value after that action is what we're driving towards here.
Well, data, utilization across all your machines would go up. And so, I mean, a company we all know, right now, if you doing something through IT, they force you to drop a agent or whatever they call it, and they're monitoring the utilization of the machines. They would see that increasing, and number of racks is a pretty straightforward thing. That number goes down. Well,
So-
those are my
so-
thoughts. Take them or leave them.
Now, I think we need to give some, at least as a work group here, right? We need to come up with an agreement. How are we going to use those metrics and influence to make impact, right? To reduce the power or increase efficiency, whatever we want to do, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting for us to, I'll certainly look through this paper and we can talk more about it. But it's a little bit of a left fielder, right, in the context of what we talk about at Global Summit. So I think what this work group is going to do next and what updates we think we want to deliver about status and plans for the work group. We should probably treat that as a separate topic. Whether there's a third topic here and whether it's a panel or not, we can at least get through that.
Okay.
We got ourselves an Intel only meeting here, right?
But it is being recorded.
Yes.
I think Jeff is here. He said need to talk to another call. Have a good weekend. So he's dropped. Okay. So I think probably like another one. We want to get the things I got only like this material late yesterday. I sent you the link. Let me even open that. Hold on.
Did you send it by email or something, or you posted?
Yeah, it was an email through OCP, right, Sammy?
Right. I can paste the
Yeah, I
link
did
here.
open it. It's like a 50-page paper.
Yeah, that is a really interesting paper that in fact, we were a couple of weeks back when we were having the conversation, we gave an IR to everybody, hey, can you go back and find all the papers related to performance? And also we said like, can we read and come back and give a summary, right? And now I see that somebody did that work and they already summarized a lot of things. I think if you look at, I think most of the paper I kind of aware of. I did find most of the things. Now I see it's they did the summary of it, right? At least this is you can see from PUE, there is some analysis and assessment, right? And even Canada did some benchmarking applications, they have assessment. And status under global KPIs, there is assessment. And France did some consumption reference on various data types. That is assessment here, right? Energy star, there's an assessment. Ideal coefficient, there's this assessment here.
It's all
And
over
South Korea,
the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really like even Uptime Institute, some of the work and Green Grid work. I think we said like we need to study and do the assessment and come back and tell what is done, right? This is really good, really good thing here. I think we should make use of it and understand and make a summary for us.
But some of them it looks like old, 2008, 2014 and all, right?
It's old, that's what it is there, right? This is done in October 2022. So it's not too far apart, right? It's just 2 years back.
Now, some of the countries were listed in like 2008, 2014 and also.
Yeah. Even when you look at the Uptime Institute or Green Grid work, some of things dates back to 2008. See?
Yeah, great. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's where they started and they put the next steps and probably that next steps goes to the next paper, right?
Yep.
So they did that paper and based on that paper, what is the assessment, right? It's good to kind of get summary there.
Yeah, certainly worth looking through.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And in
Can
fact,
extract a lot of information, from here and then see how we can refine it, Yeah.
Correct. And also at the end, there's a summary table Where is it?
Yeah, suggested something.
Yeah, conclusion policy recommendations, right?
Right.
And if I go to the end, maybe it's not showing it here. So I think they are also nice summary here. Yeah. So in this table, maybe I think that's what we have to look, right? First look at here, right? What is the summary of different things? What they summarized, and look at and go back and look at the early description. And if you are really interested, we can go inside the paper and look at it, right?
Mhm.
I think what we should do is all of us should take an IR, go through this material,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and also read the conclusion on the bottom here, right? I think there's a conclusion and proposed work. What I see is what are the some of the things what we are discussing? It's not here, right? I think it's a kind of a complementary things that we are doing. After reading this paper, I think we should come back and start having our influence discussion and what we want to put forward, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that end here, right? You can see the gap analysis. It's another good summary here. And given this is agency, they kind of left it to whoever is working the work to move forward, right? They have not said they are doing the work. They're
Right,
asking,
right, yeah.
looking for others to do the work, and they will probably take that and summarize it later, right?
Good. That at least they have done a high level roll up, so that way they can go back and
Right.
take it to the next level. Yeah, that sounds good.
Right. And also some case studies and other things are there. And so yeah, you read the conclusion. I kind of read it. I didn't really like fully read it. It's a really interesting conclusion here. Then also you have a lot of references, links available, like some of the things you may need to log into their account to get the things to download, but at least we have a good set of links here to start with.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
Keep a grad student busy for weeks.
Yeah. In fact, like I said, right, I was kind of looking for I want to send some links to this team before meeting today. I was started looking at a few of the things and finally landed in this place, and I said, like, it's awesome. It's going to keep us busy, but at least it's a really good thing that we got a summary of it. Right?
Well, it narrows the scope of, as we look for anything else that weren't part of this, right? You're just going to check it against it. If you already looked at it, you don't have to look at it again, right? So it may speed things up quite a bit to have this collection.
Right, but everybody's trying to say like performance is a lot of disagreement where we want to go, right?
Mhm.
And we also know performance is a major area we cannot get everybody kind of agree on it. But I'm kind of thinking, what is the best way to think of performance?
So from the regulatory point of view, they have centered around CERT, right? EU, US, Japan. China is trying to bring its own bench C, but and CERT is coming out with a new release. That's what I'm working on. So I would encourage, rather than we invent our own, that we utilize what's already been accepted by multiple large legislative bodies. Like whenever,
Can you give an overview of what is CERT and what is it does? Right?
Sure. So CERT is, so SPAC, right? SPEC Int, SPEC Rate, right? So SPEC is a nonprofit that houses benchmarks. one of the benchmarks it houses is called CERT, Server Efficiency Rating Tool. What CERT does is that it has a set of worklets, and and it's very specific on what you use for a power meter, what you use for a temperature meter, what you use for your software stack, what you disclose, etc. So a company like Dell, like HP, would take a server that they want to sell into the market, and they would run this CERT benchmark. It takes 2 to 3 hours to run, let's say. The whole time information is collected, both the transactions and the power, and in addition, it's along a load line, so it figures out for this platform and on this sub worklet, this is 100%, and it so it then goes 100%, let's say 75%, 50%, 25%, and it measures the power along that load line. So you got that. And it also gives a measure for idle power. So you get that curve along all the worklets. And then at the end, a score that normalizes those worklets is given. And then things like US Energy Star or EU Lot 9 takes those scores and says that, if you don't have at least this score, you can't be sold in our jurisdiction this year, because you're in the bottom of the efficiency. And then like the US government will say, if you want to answer to an RFP for us to do something, you need to use servers that have an efficiency score of gold or better. So they've said, bottom third, you can't, are rated not good. Then they'll say of what's left, a third is bronze, a third is silver, a third is gold. And then people say, well, you can only use gold for this solution or whatever. So, and now for the EED, the Energy Efficiency Directive, they are saying when you say what's the power max of all your servers across your data center, they're defining that as the CERT 100% for a subset of the worklets.
Yeah, and let's talk about that just briefly, right? So CERT's at version 2.0 right now. Is that right?
Well, 2 point something, 7 something. Yeah.
And that version has, is it 9 compute worklets or 11?
I can't remember.
Oh, well, but that's important, right? So there's some known shortcomings that Deb and others are working on for the next release of CERT, right? It's got a couple storage worklets, a network worklet, and then a bunch of compute worklets. And what she was just talking about is whether you measure CERT, the geomean complete score, or CERT CPU, right, which is just the CPU worklet.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CPU worklets, 2 storage, 2 memory, and idle. Looking at a report, right?
Is this similar to a spec cloud benchmark in a way, right?
No.
Not that? Okay.
No. The person who heads up, I shouldn't say this because we're on recorded. I'm not saying it.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, and like Deb said, it's got a very detailed, here's how you measure power, and it doesn't allow for DC rack delivery yet, right? So there's some things, there's some updates that we're waiting for, and obviously you can't tell them to start use something that's not out, but
that's what I'm working on, right? I'm on that team now, and we have resources assigned, and Yeah, so
so-
we have our finger on the pulse of what is and isn't happening. There's just things we can and can't say at given times, right?
No, that's fine. What I'm kind of looking for is there any kind of public
Oh, yes,
links,
of
public things are there
course.
that
Of
we should start
course.
looking at it before.
Yeah. Mhm. Can you send some details?
Yeah, so I will send you, put in the comments the link. And then sorry, just trying to get it here into the chat.
Is this being adopted universally, or where is? So what is the status?
EU, US, and Japan.
Okay.
China wants to own their own thing.
Mhm.
So they're trying to replicate, this is well over a decade's worth of work here, and China's trying to, in short order, make something that's as good. So we'll see if they succeed. So if you
Okay.
look at the link I sent, they talk about the user guide, design overview, the metric, etc. So
So-
there's all that. And like I said, we are working on version 3. So it will be it will actually be 4 suites going forward. But if you just focus on the generic CPU one, it'll be a different mix of worklets. The storage ones will be taken out. Some of the other ones will be removed. Some new ones will be added.
So this one, Deb, is there any relationship with the OCP at all? Or do you need anything from system?
With OCP?
Yeah.
No, it's like any vendor of a server platform, right? They can run it at, the blade level or multiple blades, or they can run it at rack or just one, one motherboard. There's different, if you read through the documentation, it'll say, but you basically have a system under test, have a power meter hooked up to it, and you have I can't remember what they call it, the director or whatever, which is another system, and the director gets the results from the power meter and the temperature meter, and it sends the commands across to the system under test. And yeah, it's
So the thing is here, it's more of a Energy Star, or when you sell the product, like a carbon, right? Embedded carbon. When you sell the product, you do need to advertise your numbers. As long as you do that, you're done.
No, like I said, that in addition, like the EED is taking, when they want you to talk about the max performance of your whole IT kit or your whole compute kit, right? If you don't know that, they're saying, okay, well, through the green grid, we're going to give you ways to calculate that, which is all based on CERT. Many CERT reports that have been given in. And then as they start to push on utilization in future versions of the legislation, again, they're going to be referring to CERT and the load line, that CERT that's in a CERT report. So it's growing, right? So I would just say, rather than invent our own, when you want to talk about perf per watt, what has the most traction as of today is cert, so that, you know, you have to have a pretty damn good reason to invent something new, right? And understand it's going to take you, best case, you know, maybe a decade to have something that is as accepted or is written into legislation like CERT is.
Yeah, we are not inventing new performance
Exactly.
thing at all, right? I think what we are
Exactly.
trying to identify here, what is the OCP connection? What is the OCP need to do to operationalize certain things that will relate to how do you going to operationalize, right?
Mhm.
That's a really conversation. It's not like we are going to write our own benchmark. We are not going to write our own this one. We are not going to propose anything there, right?
Right.
This is
So,
more how do we connect the OCP and how do we make something consistent across the industry and make it as a standard so that people can operate in that standard and provide and improve on it. Right?
Yeah, and a possible OCP role here, right? So you asked a good question, right? And Deb kind of skirted around it and didn't address it, which is, do you have to have certain information for your systems in order to sell them? And today, no, you do not, right? There's a lot 9 requirement you have to certify that you pass. There is not a public database of cert scoring information, and there is not search scoring information for every SKU of production server out there on the market. Right? There's a smattering of them. The best collection of scoring data that we know about is the one that the Green Grid has created, but they did that at their own expense, and they're not looking to make it publicly available to everybody, just open it, right? They're looking to make data based on it available for use, and they're putting together proposals for how to do that, like Deb said, so you can, if you don't have certain data for the precise machines that you've got, you can at least estimate somehow, right? And
yeah.
that's work that the Green Grid is doing. Now, if OCP wanted to step in and say, in order to be OCP compliant or OCP ready or inspired or whatever label we use, you have to publish your cert information.
Mhm.
That would make a difference, right? No one's taken that step yet.
Yeah, the one thing I don't know yet, Eric, is for the EPA, whether you got gold or silver or bronze or can't play, right? Somehow that was done off of a cert score. I don't know how that is all connected together, but you can go look at the EPA and, you know, what are the current list of gold servers, and it'll tell you. So, but I don't know how that is decided. But yeah, I guess OCP could ask people to publish. It's an interesting idea.
So that is one, right? I think when your system level, what is your different operating points and loads or whatever the cert score, right? The second thing
Right.
is there anything on the runtime portion that
On the
cert
runtime
is?
portion.
See, if
Can you,
let us say I'm running my system, is there any performance score comes out of the system?
no,
Like maybe today I'm operating at a 40% workload, and tomorrow I might be 70%, and 50% later, right?
that's not cert, right? So typically what you can do is the operating system gives you a % of utilized cycles. So cycles where the OS is not sitting in its wait loop,
Right.
waiting for the and that is readily available to software people. They can put it, like I was describing, a company everybody on this call knows. If you know, are using the IT puts down an agent that monitors that and puts it into a database. So, so that's utilization, right? And then as far as, understanding utilization, cross product with performance, again, that would be whoever owns that particular piece or pieces of software would have a definition, be it, responses per second or users per hour or number of items placed in the in a cart, or whatever it makes sense to that particular application. They would have some performance metric that matters to them, so they, if they wanted to, they could cross product that with utilization and know that, I have low utilization and a perfectly satisfactory metric of items per cart per hour or whatever. Therefore, I've well over provisioned here. Can I run somebody else's low priority batch jobs in the background, or move to a smaller machine, or take fewer cores on the current machine, or find or decide that we don't want to sell this item anymore anyway, and just delete the whole thing, right?
So
Is this
there's
making
no
any sense?
normalized number that we can, one number, right? It's going all over the place, right?
Well, the utilization is normalized based on the operating system, right? If you have a different operating system, then it's not normalized, but most people run Windows or Linux.
Not utilization, it's performance that it can produce.
Performance is what matters to this application, right? How many drugs did I discover? How many how many incidents of fraud did I detect? How many users, all of these would be like per hour or whatever, right? Per day, right?
It's application dependent. It's application dependent.
It's application, in the end, it's application dependent.
Correct.
If you want something that describes the system, performance cert is what I would propose that we use. It's just, theoretically, if that a problem we have is that CPU utilization does not exactly match cert utilization, but close enough, let's guess.
And either
So
the actual power. So,
well,
there's a 30% error on trying to correlate CPU utilization to performance.
30,
I can show you two different versions of 50% that are 30% apart in peak performance.
So I think we are also top of the hour. Maybe I think what is to the next meeting is given that white paper we need to read through. And also we need to really say what is the OCP role for performance for what play, and what do we want to go after, right? I think we started the initial discussion a couple of weeks back. We should have some further discussion and conclude on what exactly we want to go after.
right,
Okay.
sounds like a plan.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tim. We'll talk to you
Alright.
next week. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Bye.